During a yoga class, a dog did something unexpected that convinced the instructor to make a radical change in her lesson. The dog's owner was afraid that the instructor might kick her out of the studio, but what unfolded during the class shocked the whole world in the best possible way. On an otherwise ordinary morning, Samantha gathered her yoga mat and her dog Buddy's favorite toy and headed out the door. Little did she know, this seemingly innocuous choice would set in motion a series of events that would capture the hearts of millions and redefine the boundaries of what was once considered acceptable in the sacred practice of yoga. The Peaceful Warrior Yoga Studio was an oasis of serenity nestled in the heart of the bustling city. From the soothing scent of burning sage that greeted visitors at the entrance to the soft natural light that filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the studio exuded an aura of calm that beckoned even the most frazzled souls to shed their worldly burdens. As they stepped through the doors, they were enveloped in a cocoon of stillness. Samantha guided Buddy to a corner of the studio. She spread out her mat and arranged his favorite toy beside it. Bringing her dog to class was an unusual practice that many other studios would have frowned upon, but at the Peaceful Warrior Yoga Studio, she knew that her pup would be welcome as long as he didn't disrupt the lesson. And since Buddy was always very well behaved, she had no doubt that he would remain still and silent for the entire duration of the class. As the last few stragglers trickled in, the instructor took her place at the front of the studio. With a warm smile and a gentle clearing of her throat, she welcomed the students but told them not to put their mats down. "It's such a beautiful day," she explained when they voiced their doubts. "We'll have our class in the park." The idea was very well received by the group, and they quickly left the studio to walk towards the closest park. Samantha was happy as well. In the park, Buddy would have more freedom to move around and more stimuli to distract himself while she immersed herself in the lesson. Once they reached a nice clearing, the instructor gestured for them to spread out and lay down their mats, inviting them to settle into their opening positions. "Today, we will explore the concept of letting go," she said. Her name was Jasmine, and her melodic voice resonated among the trees. "We will release the tensions and burdens that weigh heavily upon our minds and bodies, allowing ourselves to be fully present in this sacred space." Samantha closed her eyes. She inhaled deeply and willed her muscles to relax. Beside her, Buddy let out a contented sigh, his tail thumping softly against the mat. As the class progressed through a series of gentle warm-up poses, the park filled with the synchronized breaths of the students. Samantha lost herself in the fluidity of the movements. Her body and mind became one with the practice. Then, without warning, a sudden commotion erupted. The girl too rose behind Samantha, let out a yelp that soon turned into full-blown laughter. When the group turned to check on her, they saw something unexpected. Buddy was standing right beside her, licking her feet and tickling her. As everyone chuckled with the girl, Buddy was overcome by a bout of playful exuberance. He seized his toy and began to bound across the clearing. He wove between the rows of students with reckless abandon, and his joyful barks echoed off the trees. The students were initially startled by the unexpected interruption. Most were torn between maintaining their composure and giving in to the infectious delight of Buddy's antics. As the pup careened past them, a few stifled giggles began to ripple through the clearing. However, Samantha was mortified. She tried to call Buddy back to her, hissing between her teeth, but the dog seemed to be having too much fun to listen to her. Her face was red as a beet as she got up and ran after him. When she finally managed to get her hands on his collar, she turned around to mouth an excuse to the instructor. She fully expected her teacher to be mad at her and her pup for disrupting the lesson, and she thought she might even be kicked out of the class for it. She had promised that the dog would not make a peep, and yet here he was, suddenly going crazy and jumping between the other yogis. She knew she was about to get scolded. Would she even be allowed to come back if she promised to never bring Buddy again? But when she met the eyes of the instructor, she was surprised by her reaction. Jasmine regarded the unfolding scene with a serene smile. Rather than succumbing to frustration or reprimanding the errant pup, she allowed the moment to unfold organically and gestured for Samantha to let the dog have fun. She immediately recognized the inherent beauty in Buddy's unbridled joy. The once rigid atmosphere of the class melted away. In its place was a wave of laughter and light-heartedness that washed over the participants like a refreshing summer breeze. As Buddy bounded from mat to mat, his exuberance proved to be a contagious catalyst. It had ignited a sense of playfulness and childlike wonder within each person present. Samantha's initial mortification quickly dissipated. She too was swept up in the infectious mirth. She watched in awe as the once solemn faces of her fellow yogis radiated with unbridled joy and acceptance. At that moment, the boundaries between propriety and spontaneity blurred. The park became a canvas for the expression of pure, unadulterated happiness. Buddy's antics had inadvertently shattered the confines of conventionality. The dog's exuberance had invited each person present to embrace the unbounded delight of living in the present moment, free from the shackles of self-imposed constraints. As the laughter subsided and the class gradually regained its equilibrium, a newfound sense of levity permeated the studio. Jasmine was the first to give voice to this realization. With a radiant smile that seemed to emanate from the depths of her soul, she addressed the class. "My friends," she said, "today we have been gifted with a powerful reminder of the essence of yoga, the art of letting go, of surrendering to the boundless beauty of the present moment." She gestured towards Buddy. He had finally settled down, and his tail wagged contentedly as he basked in the attention of the amused students. Our furry companion has shown that true enlightenment often manifests in the most unexpected forms, challenging us to shed our preconceptions and embrace the innate joy that resides within each of us. The participants nodded in unison. With a sweeping gesture, Jasmine motioned for the class to rise from their seated positions. "Today, we will discard the rigid confines of traditional practice and allow our souls to dance with the unbridled joy of a child at play." The class was delighted. Suddenly, students embarked on a wholly unexpected journey. Jasmine led them through a series of unconventional poses and movements. Each one was designed to tap into the wellspring of childlike wonder that had been awakened within them. They twirled and swayed. Their bodies moved in fluid, organic patterns that defied the constraints of conventional yoga. Laughter and unbridled glee became the soundtrack of their practice as each one surrendered to the pure, unadulterated joy of living in the present moment. Samantha was also swept up in the infectious energy that enveloped the clearing. As she moved in harmony with her fellow participants, she felt a profound sense of liberation. It was as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Buddy bounded joyfully amid the swirling mass of bodies, his presence serving as a mischievous reminder to embrace the unbridled delight that had been unlocked within them all. As the class drew to a close, the students were enveloped in a profound sense of gratitude for the serendipitous moment that had shattered their preconceptions and opened their hearts to the boundless beauty of living in the present moment. They left the park that day with a renewed appreciation for the unexpected and a newfound commitment to embracing the inherent joy that resides within each fleeting moment of existence. Little did Samantha or the rest of the class realize that their profound experience of unbridled joy and childlike wonder had been captured on film. One of the participants was a social media influencer named Ava. She had discreetly recorded the entire unforgettable sequence on her phone, from the moment Buddy had first started licking the girl's feet. Initially, Ava's intention had been to document the disruption for her legions of online followers. She hoped to capitalize on the chaos for a few fleeting moments of internet fame. However, as she witnessed the transformative power of Buddy's antics unfold before her eyes, her motivation shifted. What had begun as a quest for viral content soon became a desire to share a message of hope and joy with the world. That evening, as the city settled into its nightly rhythm, Eva sat on her plush living room rug. Her phone was cradled in her hands. With a few deft taps, she uploaded the video to her various social media platforms and attached a heartfelt caption that encapsulated the profound impact the experience had on her. "Today I witnessed true magic," she wrote. "It was a reminder that joy can be found in the most unexpected places, and that true enlightenment often arrives when we least expect it. With a deep breath and a silent prayer, she hit the share button and released the video into the vast expanse of the internet. At first, the response was muted. There was a trickle of likes and comments from her dedicated followers. But then, like a spark igniting a wildfire, the video began to spread. Its message of unbridled joy and acceptance resonated with people from all walks of life. Within a matter of hours, the video had gone viral. It went way beyond the boundaries of Ava's following and captivated the hearts and minds of millions across the globe. Social media platforms were ablaze with discussions and an outpouring of pure, unadulterated delight. News outlets were next. They were ever hungry for stories that ignited the collective imagination. Overnight, Buddy became an international sensation. His wagging tail and infectious zest for life graced television screens and newspaper headlines around the world. Samantha was initially mortified by the prospect of her private yoga session being broadcast to the masses. Even more than that, she feared that other yogis might not appreciate the way her dog had disrupted the serene atmosphere of the group. Yoga is supposed to be a relaxing, soulful practice, and not the fun game Buddy had turned that class into. As the video's popularity soared, she oscillated between waves of embarrassment and grudging acceptance. On the one hand was her desire for privacy, and on the other, the undeniable impact Buddy's actions had on those who witnessed them. As the days passed and the outpouring of positivity continued to swell, a profound realization began to take root within Samantha. Nobody seemed to be angry or disappointed at her or her dog. On the contrary, Buddy's antics had become a clarion call of hope and inspiration. The dog had reminded people across the globe of the transformative power of embracing joy in its purest form. Suddenly, Samantha was at the epicenter of a global movement, one that celebrated the very essence of what Buddy had inadvertently unleashed that fateful morning. She became an unwitting ambassador for the message of unbridled delight and childlike wonder. Buddy was ever the unassuming hero. Needless to say, he basked in the adoration and attention. His tail never ceased its joyful wagging as he accompanied Samantha on her walks, just to be stopped in the streets and complimented for making people feel free and happy. Together, they became the embodiment of a message that transcended borders, cultures, and belief systems, a reminder that true happiness resides in the ability to embrace the unbridled delight of simply being alive. As the whirlwind of fame and attention gradually subsided, Samantha found herself reflecting on the profound impact Buddy's actions had on her life. What had begun as a simple desire to include her beloved companion in her yoga practice had spiraled into a global phenomenon, challenging the very foundations of what it meant to embrace joy, wonder, and the present moment. As the cameras were turned off and the interview requests dwindled, Samantha would often sit on the very mat where it had all begun. Her gaze would settle on Buddy. He had long since returned to his usual routine of contented napping and playful exploration, but she knew that given the chance, he would happily disrupt any other class again. And if it happened again, she would not be embarrassed anymore. For her, yoga had once been a niche practice shrouded in rigid tradition and exclusivity, but it had blossomed into a worldwide movement that beckoned individuals from all walks of life to embark on a journey of self-discovery and inner peace. Yoga studios across the globe began to embrace a more inclusive and welcoming ethos. They started inviting practitioners of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities to immerse themselves in the healing power of mindful movement and present moment awareness. In a stunning revelation, the once unthinkable notion of incorporating furry companions into yoga sessions became not only accepted but celebrated. Studios began to offer specialized classes where participants could bring their beloved pets, quickly fostering an environment of unconditional love, laughter, and the unbreakable bond between humans and their animal companions. As the years passed, Samantha remained steadfast in her commitment to sharing Buddy's message to have fun at any possible time with the world. Through it all, Buddy remained by her side, his wagging tail and infectious joy reminding millions that true enlightenment and the greatest joys in life are locked up in the ability to surrender to the present moment. In the end, Samantha's story and Buddy's legacy became evidence of the profound impact that a single moment of serendipity can have on the world. All it takes is the ability to embrace the unexpected with open arms and a wide-open heart. What a fun tale! Do you have a story of a rambunctious pet that appended a formal event and had everyone crowing with glee? Tell us about it in the comments. We'd love to hear it.